Welcome to Rathalos Watch. Today I am going to be going over everything that the pre-launch community update entails, so you do not have to watch the 1 hour and 22-minute stream. Instead, everything will be summarized here for your viewing and listening pleasure in a bulletin list format. I will then also give my personal feedback of what I think of all the changes and Capcom's decisions leading up to the launch of Monster Hunter Wilds. Throughout the video, you will just see Monster Hunter Wilds open beta footage that was captured from my PC at native 4K. I will also include the slides and special weapon videos with their new changes from the pre-launch community presentation during certain key points, so you won't miss anything and that the information is conveyed properly for your viewing pleasure. Yes, this means you will see inside Glaive, Lance, Switch Axe, Sword and Shield, and other weapons with their new big changes firsthand. Last but not least, Takuta-san also answers the big question, will there be another open beta? Make sure to stick around throughout the video to know the answer to that question and not miss it. If you are looking forward to Monster Hunter Wilds coverage, or just Monster Hunter in general, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on. And do not forget to join our Discord community. The link is in a pinned comment. Without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. Takuta-san has been working on the Monster Hunter series for 20 years, ever since the beginning of the original Monster Hunter G-Rank expansion. Number 2. Capcom said that the response to the open beta from players was quite overwhelming when it came to people enjoying it, and also their positive and negative reactions. Number 3. Takuta-san stated that the feedback from the players during open beta was extremely useful for the development team. He has also said the open beta happened a month earlier for Monster Hunter Wilds than it did for Monster Hunter World because of crossplay. Crossplay allowed them to test it sooner and also gave them a chance to see how the new crossplay tech would behave with a large influx of players all at once playing together on different platforms. They needed the time to truly test the matchmaking with the servers before launch. Thankfully, the crossplay test went very well and there were no serious issues that needed immediate attention. Number 4. The purpose of the open beta test was not only to test out crossplay, but also to see how much players liked or disliked the game. The feedback was mostly positive, and there were also things that people didn't enjoy as much. This gave them the motivation to work on those things, make new changes, tweaks, adjustments, and get ready for launch and make the game as the best as it could be. Thanks to all the players for this, once again, Takuta-san said. Number 5. Takuta-san also stated that the newly released previews from the journalists and the general press was also quite positive, both from the experienced hunters and new to the franchise. It was also great to see and read all the positive articles in regards to the changes that we've made that you've all seen in the recent press previews. Some journalists said they did not want to leave Capcom headquarters in Osaka, and that the game felt great and it almost seemed like it was the final polished release product and they wanted to keep playing it for a longer time, but sadly they had to let them go from their office. Number 6. In regards to performance feedback from the open beta, Takuta-san has prepared a special video that includes footage from the PS5 running on the latest internal development code to showcase the latest improvements. Here we can see some brand new footage of the Cumatrix hunt running on a base PS5 on performance mode. Here is also a slide showcasing what each console will be running at when Monster Hunter Wilds launches on February 28, 2025. The base PS5 will run at 3840 by 2160, which is 4K at 30 frames per second in graphics mode. Meanwhile, the base PS5 will run at 60 frames per second in frame rate mode and 1920 by 1080 resolution. They have also fixed a rendering bug in frame rate mode that helped to improve the overall performance. Takuta-san also said that the targeted frame rate sadly was not being achieved in the open beta test and it wasn't as quite optimized. But the new video they just showcased for Cumatrix improves on all of these technical aspects when you compare it to the much older open beta test build. Takuta-san also did confirm that the PS5 Pro patch is also coming to Monster Hunter Wilds and it will enhance the game graphically as well. The patch will be released on the same day as the game itself on February 28, 2025. However, he did not provide details on exactly how and what will be improved, but he did say that they will share that information as soon as we get closer to launch. Xbox Series X will also run similarly in both graphics and frame rate modes compared to the base PS5. 4K resolution with 30 frames per second for graphics mode, 60 frames per second and 1920 by 1080 resolution for the frame rate mode. Meanwhile, the Xbox Series S will only run at 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second. As for the PC, that will all depend on your PC hardware and settings, but they also did state that however your PC handled the open beta at the time, that the goal is to make sure that it will run it better on the same hardware that you had back when you played the open beta when it comes to the final version of the game. Takuda-san also confirmed with the team very recently that they are looking to lower the overall minimum recommended specs for Monster Hunter Wilds, but the final details are still being worked out, so please stay tuned. Capcom is also thinking of releasing a special benchmark for Steam users on PC. This way, a user can run a benchmark test on their system to see how well the game would perform ahead of the release and if their PC needs any upgrades or not. However, this is still being worked on as well, so stay tuned for more information later down the line. Number 7. More further adjustments will be made for the full version of the game to improve the weight of the weapons, hit stop in general, and sound effects. The focus will be on big moves and finishers. Here's a video of the new True Charge Slash that just shows how much more meaty it really is. Takuda-san also confirmed that the Greatsword is not the only weapon that's getting these changes. It was just the weapon they wanted to showcase in the video. All the other weapons are also getting these improvements when it comes to their impacts, sound effects, and overall hit stop effects. Takuda-san said he found it quite interesting that the feedback from Monster Hunter World back in the day was that the weapon animations felt a tad too slow and too impactful, whereas in Monster Hunter Wilds they weren't slow enough, and feedback was the complete opposite. Regardless of all that, he says that he is taking the new feedback as a compliment because he is glad that people want the hit stop to return, because that was always a signature hallmark of the Monster Hunter series, and he is happy that the players are willing to embrace. Number 8. The friendly fire adjustments were already present in the much older builds such as the Gamescom and TGS demos. The effects of friendly fire were already toned down before the open beta even started. The final version will include even further mitigation, specifically the upswinging hammer attacks. Players may also use shockproof jewel to nullify damage reactions. This jewel was actually in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, and it's coming in the full version of Monster Hunter Wild. Here is another video showcasing the new upswinging hammer adjustments when it comes to the friendly fire. The intention of these changes was to balance out some of the new weapon changes. Vibrant Fire, for example, has a much larger range now, and because of that, they had to tone down the friendly fire on it, because otherwise, it would just end up hindering the overall hunting experience across the board. Because of crossplay and a much larger player base, we wanted to make sure that the less experienced players would knock others around to the point where it's no longer fun to hunt. So this is why they adjusted friendly fire. Basically, they wanted to avoid the situations where new players can enjoy the hunt without worrying about why Wyvern Fire, with its new big range, is knocking them away and ruining the hunting experience, while also making it less frustrating for the experienced hunters because the new hunters might have accidentally knocked them away. Number 9. In regards to monsters moving areas so frequently in open beta, Takuda-san actually admitted that there was a bug going on that made the monsters move more often than they originally intended to. They have worked on it since then, and the final version is similar to Monster Hunter World when it comes to monsters going from one area to another. Number 10. The locales in Monster Hunter Wilds are much bigger than in previous titles, and because of that, there is a lot more turf to cover for the monsters. The nests are now deeper in the locales, so you will have a lot more ground to cover compared to previous titles once the monster is in a limping state. When that happens, Takuda-san recommends hunters to place pop-up camps near their nests ahead of the hunt so they can just use the fast travel function instead of running. Number 11. All the weapons did get some sort of changes and adjustments after the open beta concluded, but the Insect Glaive, Lance, Switch Axe, and the Sword and Shield have gotten the most of them all and will feel the most different once you get your hands on the final version of the game. Here's a new video of the Insect Glaive so you can see some of the changes. Instant Glaive fans rejoice because the vaulting dance is now back. You can combo into a variety of aerial actions after vaulting. Aerial attack power will increase by 2 levels each time you vault. There's now also an offset effect at the beginning of descending slash. Many people complained that the vaulting dance was gone, and Takura-san is happy to confirm its return. Takura-san also said that they had a journalist at their office in Osaka who happened to be an Insect Glaive main, and he said it was the best iteration of Insect Glaive in the history of the franchise after the new changes were done. Many players were highly doubtful about vaulting dance returning, but they are very happy now that it did. Number 12. The lance actually turned out to be what they didn't intend with all the new changes that they've presented during open beta. Takura-san said they wanted to add more variety of options for guarding and footwork, but what ended up happening was actually the opposite. Majority of the players said the lance felt quite monotonous. In response to this, Takura-san said he took the counter thrust move and turned it into something called charge counter that allows guarding while charging, and it could also be chained into from any other move, which allows the players to have a lot more freedom and control. Power guard now also charges more quickly to higher levels if you can use it successfully to guard against powerful monster attacks. Both Perfect Guard and Power Guard can also be chained into a new move. Here's a new video showcasing the brand new lance changes. Number 13. Takura-san said that many players during the open beta have said that charging up the axe mode was a tad difficult, so they have decided to alleviate the difficulty and have addressed it. Players have also said that the sword mode felt too weak, and this too has been adjusted. Full release slash specifically will now feel a lot better, both in terms of its power output and feeling. Counter rising slash is now also easier to pull off than before, and they've shortened the animation period after using a focus strike with a switch axe. The knockback is now also negated during full release slash. Here's also a video demonstrating these changes. Number 14. Takura-san said that they heard everyone loud and clear when it came to losing the Rising Slash ability while guarding, and that it felt terrible not having it. Takura-san was happy to say that Rising Slash can now be used while guarding once again. Many other moves have also been improved alongside their parameters, as you can see here on the slide. Here's another video showcasing the changes for the Sword and Shield. Number 15. As for the weapon changes, they are all receiving wide-ranging adjustments from their skills to elemental values. Takura-san said that he doesn't want unintentional weapon tiering happening, and that he wants every weapon to be balanced and have its own place and is a valuable choice, and not just for the beginning of the game, but all throughout the game and end game included. He also said that he wants every weapon to feel truly unique and special, and if a weapon feels too weak to the other ones, then he would rather bring up the power values rather than nerf the already powerful weapons. The bow is a good example of such balanced changes, as you can see here on the slide. Takura-san said, the tracer shots were too good in the beta. We've decided to buff normal attacks and arc shots instead. Last but not least, when you target a monster with a focus strike, the multiple wounds will now be locked into one by one with a brief delay in between rather than all at once. Here's a video demonstrating these changes for the bow. According to Takura-san, Hunting Horn is a very viable and a strong main weapon in its current state. However, they want to adjust it and nerf it down a bit as a sub-weapon, due to how many more moves and melodies are available in the full game. They are way too powerful in the full game, so the Hunting Horn was a clear choice as part of the meta due to the overpowered buffs as a backup weapon for both yourself and your entire party. So what they did to combat this was that they buffed the solo buffs, but nerfed the party buffs so it is more rebalanced. They also nerfed melody effect time when you switch back from the hunting horn to your main weapon. This way the buff is not applied for as long as it did in the past to other players. The team believes that the hunting horn is still a viable weapon after these changes and is less OP to use and won't be a necessary weapon to always have with you at all times. Number 17. Skills such as attack boost and guard are attached to weapons themselves directly, and skills such as speed eating are attached to the armor. The reason why they separated skills in such a way was because in previous titles players were always forced to wear specific armor sets for the sake of their build, which limited their freedom and build variety. This was another reason why Monster Hunter Wilds introduced a 2-weapon system instead of just a single weapon, and why offensive skills are strictly tied to weapons. The skill building will be much more refined now, even if you change the weapons throughout the hunt, according to Takaru-san. Throughout the presentation, Joe, who happens to be one of the community managers, asked Takuda-san what happens to your weapon skills once you upgrade them, and to my surprise, Takuda-san said the weapon skills will not disappear when you upgrade the weapon as long as it is a weapon from the same weapon tree. Here's a screenshot demonstrating when you upgrade Hope Blade 2 to Hope Blade 3 and how the speed sharpening skill continues to stay in Hope Blade 3 while also having a new skill added on top of it, which is Critical Eye in this case. The more you upgrade the weapon within the weapon tree, the level of existing skills might also even be increased. Takuda-san also confirmed that in addition to the inherited weapon skills, there are also decoration slots that you can use. The further you go down in the weapon tree, the more decoration slots you will also unlock, allowing you to have even more skill build variety. Number 18. Takuda-san has confirmed that the full version of the game will include additional features that the open beta did not when it comes to joining multiplayer sessions with your friends. One of those is private lobbies. These private lobbies will have IDs, and the only people that can join are the ones who you shared the ID code with. He also said they are bringing back the squad system, and squad lobbies will only be available to those who are part of your squad. The purpose of the environment link in the beta was designed to put players in the same map conditions. Sadly, this feature wasn't well showcased in the beta due to its limited scope, with only windward planes being available. However, in the full version of the game, it will be a much more useful function. This system makes sure to link up and synchronize players to the same weather and environmental conditions. Number 19. Takuda-san has stated that you can also mute a person who keeps spamming chat stickers non-stop in a lobby. Also, when you start a quest, the chat channel will switch to the participants of the quest, so you don't have to read a bunch of random messages on your screen during your hunt. Number 20. Capcom is considering adding more options for changing HUD elements in post-launch game updates. They are also currently reviewing and going through the feedback of the current weapon HUD elements as well, and making sure that the sizes are appropriate and fitting for everyone. Number 21. Takuda-san said that he prefers Ryozo to answer the question when it comes to another open beta. However, since he was the only person here, he decided to answer it anyway. He admitted that they are considering bringing another open beta test, but would really be more for players who have missed it the first time around, and all the new changes would not be included in the beta. Number 22. Last but not least, Takuda-san went on record to confirm that the support hunters will pop the wounds if the players does not focus and strike them down after a certain amount of time has passed at launch of the game. However, all of that depends on the support hunter themselves. Not every support hunter has the same personality and AI, so it's not strictly time-based, but rather support hunter-based. In a post-launch title update, they are planning to give an option to the player on which support hunter can join them and which cannot, so they have the full control of the frequency of whether they want the support hunter to pop the wounds or not. All of the big changes are being saved for the release of the game, including day 1 patch. So what do I think about all of this, guys? I sincerely believe that other developers really should start taking notes and following Capcom's footsteps. The amount of transparency, honesty, and community communication is amazing. This video and presentation kind of came out of nowhere, and if you ask me, this is better than another trailer, simply because it shows that Capcom cares about the player feedback. This is a great early, before the end of the year, Christmas gift for the fans. As far as the changes go, I believe they are fantastic. I'm very glad that Hitstop is back, and the weapons don't feel like you're hitting someone with a piece of paper anymore. I might be reconsidering my final weapon choices now because of this. Thanks to the Hitstop and impact changes, the Greatsword is going to feel amazing now, just based on that clip they showed, and the sword and shield changes are great as well in my opinion. Even though I do not play the insect glaive, I'm glad that those people are getting their vault dancing back along with the helicopter. So you guys are eating well. Sword and shield is also now looking more spicy thanks to the return of the rising slash during guarding. However, I think the biggest winner here from what they showed is the new skill system. I believe the changes that they made for Monster Hunter Wilds when it comes to the skill system are fantastic. Finally, I will no longer be forced to wear the same stupid fucking outfit because its skills are the most beneficial for majority of the game. I hated that in Monster Hunter World and previous titles. It really just made all the other pieces of armor feel pointless, and the grinding wasn't as addicting because you were forced to fight a particular monster over and over again just because you wanted that one particular set because they had such and such skills. skills. Since Capcom now moved offensive skills to the weapons, the build variety has been greatly increased in my opinion. Of course, we will still have to play the game to truly see how it feels, but based on this information and what they've shown us, I believe both speedrunners, challenge runners, theory crafters are going to be having a blast with the new skill system alongside the regular players as well. I can't wait to experiment with a variety of different weapons, and the fact that the skills stay on your weapons as you upgrade them is just pure genius. Whoever came up with this idea at Capcom needs a fucking raise and a few platinum medals. As for another beta, it's cool if they do another one, but it's also cool if they do not. At this point, we are roughly 2 months away from the game's full release, so it doesn't really matter to me personally. Anyways, that is pretty much all that I had to say in regards to this presentation. Great surprise and fantastic changes. Keep it up, Capcom. You are on fire right now, especially after those 2 sexy big announcements you made over the Video Game Awards show. Way to end the year. What do you guys think of all these changes? Are you happy or sad? Any inside Glaive mains out there in the comments? What about those Greatsword users? How y'all feeling about that new Hitstop action? Hunting musicians, are you okay with the overall changes to your musical instruments? And you fucking degenerate theory crafters, what's your hot take on the new skill system? Let me know in the comments below, fellow hunters. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe with notifications turned on. Peace out and happy hunting.